You're listening to the Wanderlusting Wives podcast, your podcast for escaping life's monotony, indulging in your wildest travel fantasies, and discovering the constant beauty of this ever-changing world.
On today's episode, Leanne and Lyle, the hosts of Beach Travel Wine podcast, join us to tell some dreamlike stories from Australia, New Zealand, Italy, and Spain.
Welcome to the Wanderlusting Wives podcast. We are your navigators, Allison
And Regan, and welcome to another Travel Tuesday, listeners. Thanks for touring along with us on this journey. And we have a couple more really awesome guests today going to talk about some travels. They're based in Australia, so we're going to get some to go down under a little bit, but we're really excited. We've loved chatting with them before we got recording here, and I can't wait to hear what they have to say and for you to hear what they have to say. So before we get to them and to introducing our guests, just a quick plug for our website, www.wanderlustingwives.com, and there you can find quick and easy links to all of our episodes, more information about us, your navigators, Allie and Regan, and if you want to be a guest on our Travel Tuesdays, it would be our honor to have you on and to hear your stories, big and small. It doesn't matter how largely you've traveled in your life. Everybody has stories, and travel just is a great way for stories to come about. So we encourage you to reach out to us if you're interested in being a guest. We'd love to meet you. And Allie, how else can people follow along with us?
You know the drill at this point. If you're not new here, make sure you're following us on social media. Instagram is at Wanderlusting Wives. Facebook is Wanderlusting Wives Podcast. Twitter at Wanderlust Wives. And then we also have an email where you can give us feedback or reach out if you'd like to be a guest. We would love to hear from you. Our email is wanderlustingwives@gmail.com. And then, as always, feel free to give us a 5-star review if you're enjoying the podcast and share it with your friends. We would love that feedback. It really helps out our podcast. So, without further ado, our guests, Leanne and Lyle, welcome to the Wanderlusting Wives podcast.
G'day.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good. We're so excited
glad to have you. Yeah. So, Leanne and Lyle, I know that you have a podcast, and I want you to have an opportunity to plug away for that for our listeners to be able to check you out and everything. But can you just start by telling us a little bit about yourselves and your podcast?
Oh, we'd love to do that. We're obviously an Australian couple. You can tell by our accent, and we
Really?
I had no idea.
No, you wouldn't have a clue. We live most of the time at the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, Australia, right on the beach, and we travel quite a lot. We're retired, and we love sharing our travel stories with friends and family, and now a whole lot of listeners, which has been and our travel podcast has just enhanced our travel so much because it's just made so much difference, and it's something that we do together. And Lyle's the researcher, and I do the other bits and pieces. So it's just been a delight to do that. Go on.
Tell the truth. Why did you start?
Well, Lyle reckons I started the podcast so when I put him in a nursing home, he can sit and listen to our travel stories. But I did not. I never said that.
She did.
I don't remember that
She
at all.
That's kind of romantic. I like it.
Okay, well, maybe I did. I don't know. Anyway, Lyle goes back, often and listens, to our first one, which we did in Paris, sitting on the floor of an apartment, and we just got such a high out of it, and there was no preparation or anything. We just sat and chatted, and we just, we were floating around like on a cloud after that first one. So there was no way we're going to stop then, was there?
No, it's good fun.
And the name is Beach Travel Wine. So where did that, I mean, obviously like traveling or beaching, anything like that, but where did that come from? How did you come to that decision?
Well, when we were selling our business in 2019, I thought that I'd like to be a travel writer. And so I wanted to start a website, and, I was trying to come up with something cute and catchy, as you do. And then I just couldn't. And, then, I sort of came up with Beach Travel Wine because beach is where we live, and it's where we get together with our family and our friends and, share those special times. So that seemed to be, what represented beach. Travel is, what we love to do, and we do lots of it. And then wine, yes, we obviously like a glass of wine, but that more encompasses getting together with friends and family and going to nice restaurants, enjoying nice food, and doing that social side of it.
And probably from my side, actually embracing cultures of other countries.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, like wine and food, totally. That's such a big part of like the
Yeah.
culture anywhere you go.
Yeah.
Everywhere is going to have their own unique flavors. I love that.
Mm.
That's really nice that it kind of encapsulates your
Yeah.
mission almost in a way.
Yeah, that's true. That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Okay, so where do we want to start?
Well, do you want us to tell you some of our favorite travel stories?
Yes, we're
Yes,
dying to hear
please.
them.
I can still see those whales out there.
Yeah, we're sitting here chatting away, and out our window we can see these humpback whales. So it's just they're on their way back with their babies back down to the cold water, and we're lucky that we see them sort of around August, September, October, splashing away out the front. So it's pretty cool. So if we're distracted, sorry guys or listeners, we're just like watching whales.
I
That's
don't blame you
amazing.
one bit.
Very cool.
Well, let's stick on. Let's stay to the animal.
Yeah, let's do that. Like we sort of thought we could share a couple of stories from Australia, some of our favourite places, and then we've just come back from New Zealand, so I've got some pretty cool stuff that happened there, and yeah, some of the other places we've been in our travels. But one of the stories that's places that sticks with me is Darwin. Have you heard of Darwin in the Northern Territory?
I
I
think
have
so,
heard of
yeah.
Darwin, yes.
Darwin, and if you think of Crocodile Dundee, that's the sort of country we're talking about. And
Okay.
we actually went to Darwin for a concert, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
You probably never heard of this guy, but I'm a big, we are Jimmy Barnes fans and have been since I was 15. And he was having a concert, and I sort of say he's our travel agent, because if he's playing somewhere we haven't been, we're like, well, let's go to Darwin.
We've
Why
actually
not?
been
Might
to
as well.
We've actually been to the Maldives.
Yeah, to see him. So
Wow.
it's a bit of fun. Yeah. So we decided we're going to Darwin to see Jimmy Barnes, and of course we have a week up there, and Lyle, we decided we're going to do I wanted to do a jumping crocodile tour. So
I didn't.
no, Lyle didn't, and so we're on the Adelaide River, which is this big, wide, muddy, gunky, not gunky, but it is muddy. It's because it's tidal, and there's mangrove swamps, and it's hot and humid, and the guide on the boat's got a big gun on his hip, and for Australia that's unusual because we don't carry guns, and so he's got a license in case we get into trouble
It
with
was the size of a cannon.
the gun.
Wow.
Oh, goodness.
So we're on this flat bottom boat, and we're sitting down, and there's like the side of the boat comes up to just
Your hip.
your hip. Yeah.
You sit down and it's hip height, so it's not very deep at all. And when we go out, and there's that many crocodiles that the boat has to drive over them because you can't drive around them.
Well, and also they come towards you because they know there's maybe dinner in the boat, so they all you can see are these eyes, and they're all these crocodiles coming toward you, and you're going thump 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 thump. And so then what they do is they get this stick with a big chicken carcass, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And they hold it over the side of the boat, and these crocodiles, they're 6 meters long. We're talking 18 feet. So that's how
They're huge.
they're massive. They come up and they're jumping. They use their tail. They're so strong that they're almost the whole body is out of the water.
So it sort of goes, they go up like that. So the edge of their tail is just in the water. So, and Leanne's walking, she's on the boat, and she's standing on the boat, and she's taking photos. And I'm looking at Leanne, and I'm thinking,
because I'm a scaredy cat normally.
Yeah.
I'm a real scaredy cat of all sorts of stuff, but Lyle's terrified. He's the big tough guy.
I'm sort of, I adjust for risk, and I'm looking at Leanne. I'm thinking, why are you standing up? And all I could think of is because they're not going to jump in the boat, and I'm thinking to myself, how do you know they're not going to jump in the boat? If they can jump up that far, they can jump in the boat.
Well, the guy's got a gun. Okay.
Okay. So anyway, I was terrified. I mean, seriously terrified. So when the bloke said, the guide, and he was a very, very funny man, typical Australian sense of humour. He had me in hysterics. But anyway, we head back. And
what about, no, firstly, we pull up, and at the back of the boat, so they sort of nudge up to one of the little islands in the middle to show us this big crocodile. There's the two big ones. One's called Brutus, and the other one's called Dominator. And
Oh gosh.
yeah,
Don't want to mess with that guy.
no, and one of them only has 3 legs because it got bitten off by a shark. And he's telling us this story. And as he's telling us this story, there's a crocodile behind us, and there's this big splash, and then you see this shark fin come.
No, it jumps out the water. It jumped out of the water.
You see it first, and it jumps, and there's a crocodile and a shark fighting in the back of at the back of the boat.
No way.
Yeah, so all I want to do is get out of there. I'm not interested. I'm not enjoying it. I'm thinking, Jesus, get me out of here. Anyway,
so we get back.
So we head back, and ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. And we get to the jetty, and Leanne and I got on first, thinking, Leanne wanted to get up the front so she could get the best photos. Anyway, so when we get off, we've got to get off first, and we look up the path to the jetty, and there is a lizard the size of a small horse.
That's not lying.
Exaggeration.
They're called Komodo dragons.
They're huge,
yeah.
And it's into one of the eskies. Right, it's got its head in one of the eskies, and the tour guide said, "Go on, off you go." And I'm looking at him, I'm thinking, "You can't be serious." Yeah, anyway, so he said, "Yeah, you can go over." He said, "Once you get past him," he said, "Go over and have a cup of tea." And we'll wait. We went straight to the bus.
Got on the bus.
I got on the bus.
No one needs tea at that point. We need to just get out of Dodge.
Yeah. And anyway, that same trip we did a small plane flight, and it was right at the end of COVID, where you could go to Darwin.
We could travel.
Yeah. So, but there was hardly anybody else there. So we actually were the only two on this private flight. We flew over Kakadu National Park. You heard of that?
Yeah.
It's in the
Northern Territory.
It's in the Northern Territory.
Yeah.
It's 20,000 square kilometres. So it's half the size of Switzerland.
Yes, it's massive.
So it's huge.
This national park.
Yeah.
And you fly over the Adelaide River that we talked about before, and there's a famous crossing called Cooper's Crossing. And we were looking down, and I'm thinking, gosh, they've cut down so many trees. Look at all those logs, like hundreds of them just lined up, They weren't logs. They were crocodiles.
Yeah, serious.
So that was pretty.
And the big thing, the thing is, what they do is young blokes go there and for their bucks nights, right? And parties, yeah, and they dare each other to swim across the river. So yeah,
no.
So when there are people taken by crocodiles, but the majority of them are people that are doing things that they shouldn't do, and it often involves alcohol. But but it's a fascinating part of the world, and the nature and the indigenous culture and stuff, in the Northern Territory up around that Darwin area is huge. And then another place that we love in Australia that we did was on the Great Barrier Reef, of course, like everyone wants to go to the Great Barrier Reef, but we did out of a place called Airlie Beach in the Whitsunday Islands. We did what they call a reef sleep. So, you actually go out on the big boat, and there's about, 16 people?
Yeah, maximum.
And so you can go out in this big, it's a floating pontoon, and you can snorkel, and we actually scuba dived. I did my first scuba dive there, an introductory one. So that was, amazing. So much so that we went and did my scuba diving certificate just because I loved it so much. And then at the end of the day, the big boat goes back with the 200 other people, and you're left on this pontoon, probably 70 kilometres, so, a couple of hours from land. And there are these beautiful sort of glamping little tents, and you actually sleep under the stars out on the Great Barrier Reef. So you're watching the sunset, and there's no one for miles and miles, and there's a chef on board, and he cooks a 5-course meal, and it's just the most magical thing you can imagine doing in your life. Yeah, it was pretty good, wasn't it?
Yeah, and just one thing about the Great Barrier Reef, we've been there several times, and even recently, and the reef, as far as the coral's concerned, has never looked better.
Yeah, it's great.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So just for you aware.
That's so good to hear. Yeah.
But that's something like, even if you don't want to scuba dive, the snorkeling, I mean, the Great Barrier Reef is the only natural thing you can see from space. It's that big, and it sort of starts right up north, Queensland all the way, like 1,000 kilometres more. So it's so big, and this is only one part of it. But you can't believe the coral and the fish. And when we're scuba diving, there's this great big wrasse,
Yeah.
like probably 2 meters long, and he's coming up and nudging you, and like he's so used to people. It was
Oh.
Yeah, the
incredible.
color, the iridescent color of the fish,
Mm.
and the gardens, the coral gardens are just it's well worth it.
But yeah, just sort of, and then being there as the sun comes up as well, like there's no noise except the water. And we still got friends that we met on that trip. It's just a wonderful thing to do,
And
wasn't it?
we did a helicopter flight. So where the pontoon is where you sleep, there's
Yes.
another pontoon with helicopters. So you just get on the helicopter. It's only like I don't know, 15-minute flight, but it takes you over the
reef.
The reef, and obviously for photos, it's just incredible.
Yeah. So yes, because the color of the water, and in and around the coral too, because it's shallower, and it was a pretty amazing thing to do. So if you're going to come to Australia and want to see the Great Barrier Reef, go with Cruise Wit Sundays to the reef sleep. It's pretty magical sort of thing. So they're probably our couple of favorite sort of stories, like a scary one and a romantic one.
Sure.
Yeah, my thought about your first story was like, that's so like King Kong versus Godzilla, or like one of those movies that's like completely ridiculous, but like in real life with the shark and the crocodile.
Yeah, it was true. Yeah. So have you got any questions about those, or we move on to New Zealand?
I don't even know where to begin with those stories. There was so much to unpack. I really appreciate the fact that you upgraded the boat that you were on. You were going over gators, and then you were sleeping with the Great Barrier Reef. So that was nice that you kind of had a much more glamorous experience, both
And
very memorable.
the sharks of the Great Barrier Reef, they're only reef sharks, so they're not as big. So
the sharks there, yeah.
And now a quick word from our sponsor. Newsly is an all-in-one audio super app for iOS and Android. It picks up the most trending articles on the web on topics you choose at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice. The entire web becomes listenable for the first time, all in one place. Browse articles from topics you choose and start playing. Stop scrolling and start listening. You can follow any topic as specific as you like, from sports, tech, business, science, Bitcoin, or even the Kardashians. It will find you the latest articles and read them to you aloud. And the best part, they have podcasts. Explore trending podcasts from over 80 countries. You can even find us there. I started using it as my default podcast app. They even have a digital radio. Download and use Newsly for free now at www.newsly.me or from the link in the description, and use promo code WIVES. That's WIVES. And you can get a 1-month free premium subscription. You can find all this information in our description from this episode. And now back to our episode.
Well, we just came back from New Zealand, and it was a holiday that we'd had organised probably 18 months, and we went for 2 weeks. Now the first week, I've got 3 adult children all married, and I have 8 grandchildren. So the first week we went with everybody, and we all stayed in apartments together, and it was amazing. We went skiing. 2 of the grandkids are only 1, but the others all learnt to ski, and the first time they'd seen snow. And we went up this gondola ride, and it's sunny on the way up, and on the way down there's big flakes of snow falling, and it was magical. And just spending that time with the kids and the grandkids, like, that's just a lifelong memory.
That's the best.
It's so good. Yeah. And but I've always wanted to do a hot air balloon ride. That's been on my bucket list, and I decided I was going to do that in New Zealand. Now, for us, we think, we haven't been everywhere, of course, but for us, the most beautiful country we've ever been to is New Zealand. It's just beautiful, the scenery, isn't it?
Yeah, postcard perfect.
Yeah, and where we were in New Zealand was Queenstown, which is down on the South Island, and there's a huge lake, and then you've got the snow-capped mountains, and I just thought it'd be a magical place to do a hot air balloon ride. So it was freezing cold, in the middle of winter, in New Zealand, and it's very south, so it's colder still. It's like -4 degrees, which for us is like frost on the ground, like ice.
Yeah, yeah.
We're in the middle of a paddock, and they're filling up the hot air balloon and in your hop, and all of a sudden you're just gliding. There's no sound really, is there?
No, apart from when they put the gas
Yeah,
in.
the lights up, and so we're in the middle of Central Otago, which is the area we're at, and on one side there's the ski resorts and mountains of Coronet Peak, and then on the other side there's the Remarkables Mountains. Now you've probably heard of Lord of the Rings, the movie. Well,
Mhm.
that a lot of it was filmed in the Remarkables, so it's those mountains are stunning. And then below us, they've got is the Shotover River. Now that's where they do the jet boating, and it's like sort of gravel bottom and not very deep, so the water is like so crystal clear and blue, and there's beautiful blue skies, and we're watching the sunrise.
And
Wow.
then, and he goes up to 7,000 feet. So
It was
yeah.
That was very special as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and Queenstown's sort of really known as the world's adventure capital.
Yes,
So
it's where bungee jumping was invented.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'd call that. Yep.
We didn't do
Adventure.
that. That's not on my bucket list, I can tell you.
Yeah, but
No, I.
the son did the paragliding off the mountain.
Yeah,
the tandem. So that was
it is
good.
a lot of fun, but and also it's a wine region. It's the southernmost wine region in the world, and so it's cold climate wines, and it's world famous for its Pinot Noir. Even though it's only 1% of the wine production in the world, it's like because it's quality. People who like wine know about New Zealand wine. So we had a week with the kids and the grandkids, and then they all went home, and then we had a week to do the hot air balloon and the wineries and things. So it's just a beautiful, beautiful part of New Zealand. We just adore it, don't we?
Yeah, and in previous time we actually took a helicopter ride, and the most southern part of it is a place called Milford Sound, which is basically fjords. And when we did the actual helicopter flight, you actually land on a glacier.
Yeah.
Right, just in the middle of the flight, and
What?
seriously, unbelievable. It's not cheap, but it's something that you remember. And then you fly onto Milford Sound, and then you do a boat tour. I suppose boats are probably
in the fjords.
Yeah, in the fjords, and you've got the waterfalls and the size of the mountains, and it's just just blows you away. Yeah, so we've been pretty lucky.
Lyle's got a nickname, Lucky Lyle, because he's one of those guys that you go into a car park and someone just pulls out and in he goes. He's that sort of guy. And so this day we're doing the helicopter flight. We're landing on the glacier, and the pilot who's been flying for this
13 years, he said.
Yeah, he said this is the best day we've ever had that I've ever flown here.
I said, of course.
Yeah, Lucky Lyle. So it was so clear, and it was actually quite warm, so that was that was pretty magical.
The only thing we forgot to do was take a bottle of champagne.
Yes.
Oh no, not the champagne. Come on.
It was pretty early in the morning, but
Yeah. Mimosas exist for a reason, to allow us to drink champagne in the mornings. It's fine.
Yeah. So we now want to go back in summer and do a bit of a road trip, and just because of our love for how beautiful the country is, and not just the wine's obviously amazing, but their food, and that they have there. They're a big lamb sheep producing country, and so they just have amazing food, don't they?
Yeah, they have more sheep than people.
They do in New Zealand. That's true.
Yeah. So
That's something we kind of found when we were in Iceland too. Was like, there are quite a few animals compared to people. But that was a question I had, was like, what is the traditional food like in New Zealand? Like lamb, you're saying, but what else would be like the pinnacle of New Zealand?
Venison. Okay. The food is amazing. I mean, really, really, really good food, and it's quality. They're very what's the word? Eco-friendly. Down.
Sure.
Yeah, everything's organic. Like it's with their wine. How can I put it?
They don't have the tropical foods like we do in Australia. They don't have the mangoes and the avocados, those sorts of things. They stick with what they can grow over in New Zealand. That they try to support their local agriculture, don't they?
Sure.
Yeah,
and it's fantastic. Not cheap, but it's fantastic.
We have a real love of Spain, and we've spent probably 6 months there in total, and we both are learning. We speak a bit of Spanish, and we go and we just basically do our own thing. We have a bit of itinerary. We don't want to travel more than about 3 hours a day, and we always do public transport. So one of the places we wanted to go to was called Tarragona, which is about an hour south of Barcelona on the coast. And the reason we wanted to go there is we saw a travel show, and it had what are they called, Don?
Human towers.
Yeah, human towers. Okay, and we didn't know if we get to see one, but this day we're walking through the old town, and we just stopped outside the cathedral, and sure enough, lucky Lyle, again, here we go. There's probably 300 people dressed all the same, and they've got like white pants on, a green shirt, and a belt, and anyway, they start playing this music, and what happens is, there's like a whole group of really sort of big, strong men all come in together at the bottom, and then the next group of people start to climb on their shoulders and form a ring, and then another lot start to climb their shoulders and form another ring, up until there's probably 10 levels of people all standing on top of each other, and the music's going, and it's like there's someone playing a flute, and it's like a tradition. And then this kid of about 6, tiny little thing
with a helmet.
Yeah, helmet. This is
thank goodness.
I'm just like, and this little kid's climbing up all the shoulders, and everyone's clapping, and the music's going, goes right up to the top and throws a hand in the air, and everyone cheers, and then they all sort of climb back down, and they do that over and over in different formations. Sometimes it's 4 people in a ring, sometimes it's just one on top of each other, and then they have a competition. So we were watching the practice, which was great. So they were trying all their moves and stuff. But oh my gosh, I've never seen anything like that in my life. So
it's the only place in the world where they do it.
Yeah. So Google that, Human Towers Tarragona or Human Towers Spain. It's fascinating. Yeah, it's the traditions they have in Spain blow you away. So yeah, it was amazing.
Oh my goodness, how do you even train for that, I guess, is my question. I don't know how you become one of those people. I mean, tradition obviously passed down, but wow, that's so unique.
Yeah, because they've all got a different job, like the guys at the bottom, you can see them getting in like a scrum, in a sport, and then the others, obviously with the wide shoulders, and there's women, obviously as they get, or smaller people as they get up. So yeah, it's and then how do you get your 5-year-old to learn to do that?
How do you let your
how do you let them?
So that's Tarragona Human Towers, that was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think one of the things I think we both like about Spain is, one, it's very, very cheap, seriously cheap, but everywhere you go, the quality is amazing. Yeah, the food's fantastic. The wine's fantastic. We went to...
the people are amazing.
And the people are friendly. And as Leanne said, we both speak a bit of Spanish, so that enhances the holiday and also makes us a little bit more willing to take more risks, because we can actually talk to the locals. We'll go into a bar, and once upon a time, when we first started going, we'd sort of sit back, whereas now we're more inclined to sit at the bar. And, of course, as soon as someone hears our accent, they, the first thing they say is, "Where are you from?" And then that just starts up a new friendship straight away. So, and then we went up to northern Spain, a place called Oviedo, and where we did a walk up the hill to a couple of buildings actually that were built back in I think it was the 800s.
A lot of the buildings in Spain, aren't that old, or if they are, they've been that when Spain was invaded, they got ruined.
Yeah,
but these buildings didn't.
Yeah, they're still pristine. But anyway, we're walking back down, and we can hear some music. And Leanne said, and it was a hot day, and Leanne said, "Wonder where that music's coming from." And then she made the statement. She said, "Do you fancy a beer?" I thought, well, of course I do. So
why not?
We found where the music was, and it was traditional group of entertainers, and they were from universities. And this started back in the 1400s.
Called La Tuna.
La Tuna, yeah. And anyway, we.
So what they used to do, that can I'll just say that these were poor university students back in centuries ago, and they used to play music, and they people would pay them, or some of the richer people would get them to go and serenade their girlfriends under a window, and so they had. So now the guys have like the traditional instruments
and uniforms,
so
they look amazing.
Yeah, so they've got the big sort of puffy sleeves and the capes on, and and there's probably, this group had probably 10 of them, and there's little mandolins, there's guitars, there's
and they're really, really good.
Yeah, and they just walk around now singing, and they go into shops, and but yeah, they were, I don't know, they were practicing, but they're just sitting at this outdoor restaurant, and we're just sitting there just listening to them and singing along. And sometimes when we go away, we take little toy koalas with us, and we give them to people, like a nice waiter.
Oh.
Just it's nice. So I went up to these people and said, I'd like to give you, in my best Spanish, this koala award. And anyway, so they gave me the cape, and they wanted a photo, and and then one of the guys in the band turns around and says, you should have given it to me. And he pulls up his trouser leg, and he's got a tattoo, this big,
of a koala
on his leg.
No way.
Wow.
Oh.
It's fine.
We were there for 2 hours, right? And we're having beers, and we're having, and every time we have a beer, the gentleman who was looking after us would say, "What would you like to eat?"
Chicken or
anyway. To cut a long story short, we were there for 2 hours, and we had 4 beers each and food with each of those beers. And he comes out and gives us it was €12.
So the food was free.
The food was free. Set the tapas, free.
Wow.
Tapas.
That happens a lot in Spain. That's what we love about it too. Yeah.
Wow.
I want to tell you just a funny story that happened in Italy, and one of our favourite places there. Is that okay? Can we do that?
Yeah, definitely.
When we arrived, we had 8 weeks in Italy, and there's so many stories there. But once again, you can check that out, over at our website. But the funniest thing happened. We arrived in Florence, and we were staying in an Airbnb, and I'd been communicating with the owner, and they said their friend Michael was going to come and help us, So when you get there, let us know. So I let them know on WhatsApp, and Michael arrives. He speaks no English, and we speak, no Italian really. And so what he's trying to say to us is, you can't stay. You're too early, but you can leave your luggage, which I'd already arranged with the Airbnb host. So I'm like, that's fine, So, but he's trying to tell us something else, and I didn't know what it was. So he's, in frustration, he gets out his phone, and he types something in, because he's trying to tell us something that's really important. And he's typed it in, and into Google Translate, and then he turns the phone around to show us what he's trying to say. And it says, and at this stage, we're standing inside the building at the bottom of this steep staircase. It's dark, it's cold, and this guy turns the phone around, and it says on the screen, "I am a sniper."
What?
But we follow him up the stairs anyway.
Yeah, how stupid were you?
I know. So we go up the stairs. I think what he was trying to say was check in. I've looked up the word for in Italian for check in, and it's a little bit like sniper, I think, but we don't know, and we don't want to spoil the story. We like the sniper story, so we basically left our luggage there with the sniper, feeling that it would save. and off we went.
You live to tell the tale. It's all good.
Yeah, and we finished. We got so many stories about Italy. Our last podcast we just recorded is all about Pompeii. But one of our favourite stories, and this will be our last one, was when we went into Tuscany. Now, when you've got to go to Tuscany, and we had a travel agent help us with this, and she's like, "You've got to go and stay at a vineyard," So she booked us into this vineyard and accommodation, and it's called Castello Vecchio Maggio. So it's a castle, and so we are staying in Tuscany in a castle. We walk into our room, and I'm like, "Oh, this must be the hallway." It is half the size of the building. It's a full size apartment. We had no idea, and it's got all this, regal antique furniture, and we're overlooking the Tuscan hills and the terracotta tiles, and and then
First thing I said is, how much are we paying for this?
and then we go downstairs across the courtyard, and there is the most beautiful infinity pool you've ever seen in your life.
Oh my goodness.
I know. It's just, and then we had a 5-course degustation meal with all the wines. Honestly, it was
Now, that was romantic.
Yeah, sounds like it.
I mean, you're going to Italy anyways, like the country of romance. I know Paris is like the city of love, but I always think of Italy. And then you're at a castle with the wine and the food and the beautiful views and infinity pool. That sounds like it's out of a dream, literally.
Yeah.
I think Leanne, you talk about good-looking people. I think Italy. I got to tell you, Leanne was like, as she's walking along the street, with all the blokes, all the good-looking guys, and how cool they
You
are.
always have to bring it down to that. Don't
Yeah,
you?
I do.
Yeah.
But
We've had some wonderful adventures, that's for sure.
It sounds like it. I just could talk to you all day. You just clearly have so many stories, and thank you for sharing even just a handful with us. I've been so entertained. And Allie, are you ready to pack your bags to all of these different places?
Always. You guys are such incredible storytellers that I feel like I was there with you, and now I need to pack Lucky Lyle wherever I go, because it sounds like he is the key to having these incredible experiences. Of course, you do the planning too, but Lucky Lyle is a key to all these adventures.
Well, thank you both so much for coming on to our podcast. Listeners, be sure to check out Leanne and Lyle's podcast, also Beach Travel Wine. You won't be disappointed. There are so many episodes on Italy. Like, they were not kidding. There's so much information there, and not just Italy, but other destinations as well. So thank you both for coming on, and we'll catch all of our listeners next time.
Thank you for letting us reminisce.
yeah, thanks very much.
Thanks for tuning in to the Wanderlusting Wives podcast. Come escape with us again every other Tuesday for Travel Tuesdays and every other Wednesday for Wildcard Wednesdays.
Don't forget to give us a subscribe and a follow on all of our social media and wherever you listen to your podcasts. And until next time, wander on.